Welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review, folks. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson. This is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi, guys.
And today, or tonight, whatever, we're reviewing another religious movie called, what's it called, Mike?
Exodus,
Yeah.
Gods and Kings. It's a 2014 British-American biblical epic film.
Yeah, and it's directed by Ridley Scott.
Yes. Now,
the guy who did Alien.
Yeah. Now, the reason why we're doing this, like we've said to many other people at different times over the past 18 months or so, we do mainly sci-fi, horror, and fantasy, but we also do the other movie that we think is worthwhile reviewing, and that falls in that category.
Yeah,
okay?
the interesting thing about this movie, he dedicated it to his long-dead brother who died in 2012.
Yep.
He took his own life, sadly.
Yep. Anyway, moving right along. Produced by Peter Chernin, Ridley Scott, Jonah Topping, Michael Schaefer, and Mark Huffam. Directed by, obviously, Ridley Scott. Written by Adam Cooper, Bill College, Jeffrey Kane, and Stephen Zalian. Is that Zalian?
That's a mouthful.
Yeah. Yeah, now, obviously, it's a biblical epic.
Yeah, and
It's based on the Exodus. So I've asked Sarah not to go too much in it because we all know the story, but we'll highlight parts of the story which are worthwhile noting.
Interesting thing, guys. When they did this one, both Egypt and the other countries in the Middle East refused to air it.
But so, due to historical inaccuracies. Well, how would they know?
Yeah, I mean, I've told this to Mike on several occasions. How do we know what Moses really looked like?
No, if you're not talking about historical inaccuracies, on its history,
But
what they did, how it happened, yada, yada, yada. And they didn't like it for that reason. There were other things about racial discrimination, but not having local actors involved, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I mean, how did they know what Moses looked like? What if he may have been black, he may have been white, he could have been Caucasian?
He could have been in the middle there somewhere.
He could have been any kind. I mean, white people didn't just reappear out of thin air.
What they were
after all,
complaining about, which we're going to talk about in the production and everything else,
you know,
that some people said, "Oh, we're making this biblical epic movie in Egypt and Israel. We should have had some of the main stars, or the main stars should have been local people." And Ridley Scott made a good point, saying, "Well, if I use local people, Mustafa or Muhammad such and such or other, they wouldn't have got funding. They wouldn't have got funding for the movie, so the movie wouldn't have been made."
yeah.
So you can't have it both ways. I mean, it's not a case of having racial discrimination. It's just an American British film production is not going to say, "I'm going to get a bunch of Middle Eastern guys to run around in the night church, and we're going to spend a lot of money to make it, and no one's going to go to the theatre."
Look at Land of the Pharaohs. When they hired just English actors, it didn't get very much
the main role.
Much interest.
The main role was Jack Hawkins. He played the Pharaoh. He had an upper class English accent. Some of the other people had American accents. No one complained about the movie.
Yeah, it's so weird. When Charlton Heston took up the role in Ten Commandments, no one complained in the Middle East.
Oh, yeah, well, no one complained. And it's quite funny because when he was dressed there, in the Moses gear, the beard and everything, people would say he looks like Moses.
Exactly. Some of the locals
Their idea
did.
from the people in the Middle East, who were a lot of extras. So, it's... What's he look like? He doesn't look like Charlton Heston, obviously, but it's all. Oh dear, it's the dream factory in Hollywood and other movie industry places in England and wherever. It's made in fantasy. It's fiction. There could be a drama based on reality. It's still,
another thing. This is from the mind of Ridley Scott, how he visualized what Moses looked like and how he wants his actors to look like.
But he didn't write the script or the storyline. He was only delivering what the writers and the other producers wanted.
True. But I imagine
But Ridley Scott is a good director, and he's good when it comes to CGI and other good groovy things, which shows up in this movie.
But he had final say on how he wanted these actors to perform their roles.
He probably would. He's a director. That's his job. And he said, I want you to do this. But he still had the script to go by, which was written by
All three of these people.
other people apart from him. He
true.
didn't write the script.
True.
So he said, okay, that's the script. Okay, great, groovy, let's move it along and we'll put it together.
Yeah, so it's interpretation, guys.
Yeah, exactly right. But every movie is an image put together. The same way an artist paints a canvas. It's not real. It's a two-dimensional image of a three-dimensional thing. It ain't the same. And this is a two-dimensional story based on a 3 or 4 or 5-dimensional circumstance.
Yeah, so who stars in it? That's why I
Well,
wanted to
here we
speak
go.
about.
Right. Excuse me. Clear my voice. Christian Bale plays Moses, and I think Christian does a pretty good job in this. I've seen other movies, and I think he did a good job portraying that role. Joel Edgerton plays Ramesses II, his stepbrother. A stepbrother? Yeah, probably.
I don't know.
John Turturro plays Seti I, their daddy. Aaron Paul plays Joshua. Ben Mendelsohn plays Viceroy Hagep. He's a bit of a, what do you call it, self-serving little turd. Sigourney Weaver has a part in it playing Tuya. I think that's the Queen.
Yeah.
If she played that, would that be Ramesses' mother? I think.
I think I can't really tell because
they
they
all-
wear a lot of traditional makeup.
And Ben Kingsley plays Nun.
No.
Now I believe Nun was actually Joshua's father. Yeah, if my Bible readings
Going by.
no, if my memory serves me correctly. Anyway, now I'll just get back on the budget and everything. This earned about $268 million worldwide. And everyone says, ooh, that's nice, but it took up to $2 million to make it.
Wow.
It gets back to what Ridley Scott said. If I was going to get a budget of $200 million to make this movie, they wouldn't have got the funding unless they had some big name people. Hence, Christian Bale, Joel Edgerton, John Turturro.
This was filmed in in 74 days.
74 days they did the filming. Post-production, don't know how long it took, but 74 days filming in Spain and the Canary Islands and Morocco and different places,
Yeah.
So anyway, do you want to roll into it?
Yeah.
Do not dwell too much. It's a 2.5-hour movie.
So
I don't want to podcast
unlike
with
the
2.5
other
hours.
one, that Ten Commandments one with Charlton Heston in, it takes place during the time Moses is a fully grown adult.
Yeah, it starts off, he's actually going out to battle with Ramesses, the Battle of Kadesh, I think it is.
Yeah.
And Moses saves Ramesses' life. And it was actually prophesied before they went to the battle.
Yeah, some saviors. The king gets saved by
The leader was going to get saved and the savior was going to become a leader. I think that was what the prophecy was.
Yeah, and who would have thought it'd be an interesting, believable prophecy?
Yeah, so Moses actually saved Ramesses. So Ramesses was a leader, but as also said that Moses was going to become a leader, and that did happen.
Yeah. So anyway, after they won that big battle, eventually Ramesses is called in to go to the quarries and check on the money side of how the things are going in at the slaves of sorts. So, but Moses decided maybe I should do this.
Ramesses didn't want to go. He said, that's below me.
Yeah.
He had an attitude problem.
Yeah, so Moses goes down there and he meets the slimy, what's his name?
Hagep. Hagep.
Hebek.
Hebek.
Ugh, mouthful.
He's the viceroy. He's like,
Yeah, so he's watching.
He thinks he's like a mini pharaoh.
Yeah. And Moses looks through the accounts and finds out he's probably skimming on the money.
And he's living like a king, and the people are starving. And you know the story.
Yeah, so
rich get rich and the poor get poorer.
Yeah. Moses decides to visit the local elders, I think it was.
Yeah.
And to talk about how things are going and who they worship. worship. And they told him the truth, saying that they worship the God of Israel.
Yeah, because they're worried about a bit of an uprising happening or attitudes, and we're going to have a Messiah come and save us.
Yeah.
You know, stuff in the Bible.
Yeah, he also meets Joshua, and he meets Joshua's dad, and they suggest to meet him under the cover of darkness to discuss Moses' past.
Yeah, and Moses was told he was actually the son of a Hebrew woman. He had trouble accepting that, didn't he?
Yeah, likely. Anyway, he wasn't alone when he heard about this. Somehow, two of the Hebrews
Naughty guys.
decided to go tell their overseer about what they found.
Yeah, and trying to get some money
recognition or money.
Whatever. Get a
Yeah.
And they said, your reward is I won't kill you.
Yeah.
That's a good enough. Not a problem. Yeah.
Moses returns and he finds out that Pharaoh, Ramesses' dad is slowly dying.
He's not very well.
Yeah. So he dies. We see him wrapped up, and he's on to the next world. Yeah. Anyway,
Down the river Styx or wherever he's going. Yeah.
That's actually Greek.
Oh, whatever they called it.
Anyway,
going solar boat across the sky every morning.
Yeah. So anyway, Moses is now sort of a I guess an advisor to the new Pharaoh or whatever.
Who? Oh.
Yeah. Advisor.
Oh, yeah, Moses. Yeah, he's like an advisor to Ramesses. Yeah.
Of course, Ramesses' mum is not too thrilled about this because she sees she doesn't like the fact that the Pharaoh, the old Pharaoh, favored Moses more. You know.
Well, he was a good guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. Eventually, Ramesses gets wind of Moses' past from the viceroy guy.
He doesn't want to believe it.
But he decides to call in Miriam. Moses' sister, whom, as it turns out in the story version, she was after Moses was washed up to the Pharaoh's, king part of the kingdom.
Yeah.
She was hired as a bit of a wet nurse for
the help out.
Or the help out Moses and Ramesses, And, of course, Ramesses asks her on several times, are you Hebrew and are you the sister to Moses?
And she said, no, he's not. I'm not his. We're not related. Yeah, I'm not his sister.
And like most cultures, if you're lying, they'll chop your hand off.
Yeah, and
so he was tempted to chop her hand off right there.
And Moses stopped him.
Yeah, he says, yes, she's my sister. And he was put into the jail and all that stuff for the night. And
then they decided...
Yeah,
his mum, the queen, wanted to have Moses killed, but Ramesses couldn't do that, so he said, you're going to go hit the desert.
Yeah, so Moses gets a final send-off by some of the soldiers. I imagine the soldiers respected him as much as they respect the Pharaoh.
Or more.
Yeah, because they love him.
He's a good man.
Yeah, and he's allowed to set a few minutes of time with his mum and Marion, his sister, and they say how much they love him and they wish that things could have been different. Yeah. And all that stuff.
'Tis sad.
So they head off, and the soldiers head off. And Moses, in this one, unlike in the other ones...
He had to walk everywhere. He had a horse.
Moses is given a horse and secretly given weapons to look after himself.
Ramesses supposedly wrapped up his... gave him his old sword. The sword he was using when he was a general in the army. He said, I gave that to protect yourself.
So he's given a sword, Samara's knife, a dagger, and all the essential things you might need to survive in the desert.
Yeah. So he didn't hate him in this movie.
Yeah. So in this one, he eventually survives okay as he goes, and one point his horse dies and some bandits try to kill him.
But he's a well-trained soldier, so he took care of the bandits.
Yeah, as it turns out, I think the Queen sent the bandits out, maybe.
We're not sure. We think they did. Yeah. That was implied later on in the movie,
Yeah. Later on, Moses arrives at the camp of
Jethro.
Jethro. I keep forgetting his name. Sorry, guys. I should remember from
I was going from Beverly
Hillbillies.
Hillbillies. Hey, I'm Jethro.
Yeah, and he meets the young girls of Jethro's, daughters, all that stuff, and they're getting demanded by some other brigands to allow them to have some water.
The termites, the Amalekites.
Amalekites.
Termites, Amalekites, same thing.
Of course, Moses stands up to them and tells them, get lost.
Yeah. And
he then befriends Jethro, and Jethro invites him to stay the night.
and have some munchies with him.
Yeah, and the next day, Moses is thinking about moving on, but he decides to stay for the sake of Zephyr.
Zephyr, yeah.
Because he kind of fell in love with her, and she's pretty, this one. Yeah.
Well, they always get a pretty one, don't they? The one in the early movie, 1960s movie.
She's
lady,
pretty too.
She was the one who played Mrs. Munster. Who's it? I've got a mental block. Who's Mrs. Munster?
Oh gosh, I hate that part.
What?
I'm trying to remember someone's name, especially one you may.
I know it's a well known. No, I just can't remember at the moment. I'm having a bad day.
And considering that I'm not going to mention anything yet, but I might be looking at dressing as the Lily Monster later on for Halloween.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
Whatever.
Eventually, he's married to Zephyr, and they stay at Jethro's. Stay there.
He's a group. I won't say village because they move around. They move around. So, with his tribe, how's that? Yeah.
Anyway,
and they have a little kitty.
Yeah, they do. What's his name?
Bruce. No. Tiddlywinks. No. I can't remember.
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
They have a child.
Okay.
A man-child.
And while he's playing with his child, he's looking up at the mountain, and of course, his wife reminds him that mountain is forbidden for anyone to go up there. Because it's God's mountain. And like Mike says here, Moses in this doesn't believe in gods or God's pearl.
He comes from Egyptian upbringing, and he didn't believe in all the crap going on over there either.
Yeah, he didn't believe in the Egyptian gods any more than he believed in this one.
Yeah, so he was more of a
atheist.
Atheist. Well, he believed what he could see and touch and feel. Yeah, that's what something. Yeah.
Eventually, he goes up the mountain trying to chase some sheep that would go up and up and up.
I think though he was being led by those sheep.
Yeah, I think so too. Eventually, it's raining, just so you know, very heavy rain.
Considering it doesn't rain there very much.
Yeah, eventually there was a rock slide or mudslide or whatever.
A mudslide, I think.
Yeah, and it causes.
And he broke his leg.
Yeah, and somehow he's in the mud. And there we see the burning bush, but we also see a little boy about his son's age, I think.
Yeah, about that, similar
yeah,
age. Yeah,
and some people keep saying this is not God, this is just an angel's message, sending messages. But I think differently.
No, in the Bible it said God appeared to be, not a messenger. It wasn't, a courier service. It was, and he represented himself as a young child.
Yeah.
Instead of, the bush is talking to me.
Yeah. Some people would give you different facts on it.
They're not facts, it's bullshit. Sorry. In the Bible, God appeared to me, not a messenger.
Yeah, and considering that the dialogue in this movie, he does say the same things, like demanding Moses to return to Egypt and to help his people.
Yeah, and and Moses asked what his name is, and what did he say his name was?
I am.
What they said in the Bible, and the old movie, I Am the Lamb, or something or other, indicating he is God.
Yeah, so...
he didn't say, I'm Fred the Angel.
Yeah, then he eventually returns home. I don't know how he was able to get home after being in such long
he rode his sheep down. Move on.
And
it's a long movie.
His leg is sprained still, and he tells his wife what he saw, and she thinks that he's delusional, which is not the attitude of a...
What
Zephyr.
wife wouldn't? Hey, guys.
Yeah, anyway, for a while he doesn't do anything, and he then sees the boy again at first we think it's his son, but then we sort of vision it might have been God in.
And it was. It was God again.
Yeah.
He encouraged him to go and look after his people in Egypt.
Yeah, so he takes out his weapons, starts sharpening them, and makes plans ahead.
He had a few weapons there, didn't he?
Yeah, quite a few.
How did he carry them all? They're a small horse.
Big,
I think they overdid the weapons a bit.
Yeah, anyway, he loads them up, and his wife says that she'd trade her own faith for him to stay.
And he said, "I've got things to do."
So he heads down to Egypt again, and as he's going down, he meets up with the old elders again. He meets up with he meets his brother Aaron, which is the first time for me because I never seen Aaron up until this part.
He wasn't. I don't think he was in the early part of the movie.
Yeah, I mean Marion, I don't see again. Miriam, I don't see her again. I don't think his mum ever you see her again.
They weren't part of the story.
Yeah. Anyway, that's
moving right along.
So he does meet Joshua, and he starts making plans with them. They even start arranging secret, training exercises.
He started to train the Israelites into being
modern warfare.
Yeah, and told them, being a small group, we can't take on the Egyptians face on. We get them from the sides, which means they go in there and they take care of their supply routes, food, destroy stuff, so they can force them into submission.
He then tells Pharaoh, he goes into the cover of darkness, tells them that he plans on releasing the Hebrews. Of course, Ramesses' first act is to get Moses, kill him, all that stuff.
Well, he got annoyed with Moses. He wanted to get in after the meeting. He said, "Kill him, and anybody who hides him, kill them as well."
Yeah, they arrange a few raids around the Hebrew encampments, and some of the locals get hanged and all that stuff. Yeah, as a bit of an example.
One family a day until Moses is surrendered to the Egyptian troops.
Yeah, eventually some of Moses' plans go well, but according to God, things are not so going well because he thinks that this will take years.
And God said, "No, I want it to happen now."
Yeah, he doesn't want it happening in 10 years' time. He wants the Israelites released now.
Yeah, so God intervenes, and in comes the plague.
Yeah, it starts off
well done, Ridley Scott.
At first it starts as it starts off like alligators start attacking each other, and then that's where all the blood comes out of them and starts spreading all over the place. Well, it started taking
the fishermen first.
Yeah, attacks the fishermen.
But there's lots and lots and lots and lots of alligators. And actually, I don't know how many alligators actually in the rivers back in those days, but there used to be alligators in the Egyptian River. They're not there. They've been hunted to extinction, I think. Yeah. But there would have been alligators there.
Yeah. Anyway,
or crocodiles or whatever they were.
Yeah. So the water starts spreading. I don't think it's just because a bunch of alligator attacks. I think it was an act of God, that scene, more than I think.
Get on with it.
Anyway.
We were talking about the plague.
And the water starts spreading all over Egypt's rivers and stuff like that. Eventually, the frogs come out of the river.
The fish died first.
The fish died
because they couldn't breathe in the water.
And the frogs start, making their way onto the Egyptian soil.
And because they couldn't breathe in the water either.
Yeah.
So they said, "We're getting out of here."
And then dysentery hits.
And flies. And boils.
And let me see. Much later,
the animals were dying.
Yeah, and the cattle was dying because of the flies jumping onto their bodies.
Yeah, the flies are making them sick and horrible, and all these flies are there are maggoting up the food and everything. Yeah. It wasn't a very nice place to go.
Yeah, the next plague after that was the locusts.
Yep, and they're
destroying
really good.
All crops and stuff.
Cooked locust.
Yeah, and then of course darkness sets in eventually.
Yeah, it's that one came in, and then
eventually Moses notices this and thinks both the Hebrews and the Egyptians get affected by this, so no one was safe from it, right?
What are you talking about now?
Well, it's in the movie. It seems like it was both affecting the Egyptians and the Hebrews, not just one quarter.
That's right. Yeah. So everyone's being affected.
Yeah. Anyway, eventually, Moses asks God, "Whom are you angry at, punishing the Hebrews or the Egyptians?"
Yeah. And so what happened is the next one.
Yeah, eventually
The last plague.
Yeah, eventually Pharaoh at first says that he's planning on doing what his dad did many years ago, killing the firstborn of Egypt,
Exactly.
kids, whatever. Eventually, God overhears this conversation, and then
God doesn't overhear anything; he knows everything.
He knows everything, and he tells Moses, and Moses, when he hears that what God got planned, he's taken back. He says, "No, I don't want to have anything to do with this part." And he says, and God's saying, "What? It's too cruel, and all that stuff, and yet you still deny that these people are your people, all that stuff." Because throughout this movie, Moses continues to think that these people are not his people. He still feels guilty about the Egyptians.
He still feels a bit like the Egyptians. Yeah. He's caught between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving right along.
He then tells...
That's a long movie.
He then tells Ramesses about what's going to happen cryptically, where he says that if you don't finally go under the hammer and say you'll definitely let the Hebrews go, then something bad will happen to your kid, your son.
Yeah, watch out. Yeah. Are you threatening me? Nope, not really.
Yeah, so he heads off, and he makes arrangements with his own people to cutting up
some lambs,
cut a few lambs' neck throats, and
put a bit of blood
on the doors,
or doorposts and whatever. So the angel of the Lord will pass over them, hence the Passover. Next, move on.
Yeah, of course.
It's a long story.
Yeah, of course. One of these people said, I think it was Joshua, asked him about that whether this is right, and Moses says, "Do not pity the lambs. Tomorrow we'll bless them."
Yes, exactly right.
Eventually, that night, everything takes its course. It's dark, and now the angel of death starts taking its toll on the Egyptians.
Firstborn of Egypt, yes.
Yeah,
in the Bible.
Starts attacking all the firstborns, from older person to younger person, from the prisoners in the jail to the highest ups in the Egyptian court.
Pharaoh's son and some of his centurions were dropping off because they were the firstborns. Yeah.
And then anyway, he wakes up next morning screaming for Moses, and eventually Moses says the Hebrews have survived. There's no kids been taken away.
No Hebrew child was taken. No firstborns.
Of course, Ramesses finally gives in, throws up his hands and say, "Fine, go away."
Go away. Yes.
Yeah. So now they go on their long journey, and it's an interesting.
Blah 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 blah. Through desert. Blah blah. Ramesses gets his.
Yeah. Along the way, when they notice right away that Ramesses was coming, they decided to take a different path to the Red Sea.
They went through a small gorge or something or other in between the mountains, so it would be hard for the charioteers to follow. Yeah,
and just like clockwork, Ramesses takes that shorter
he followed them,
and not realizing the dangers that his chariots will get into.
A lot of his guys in this movie died try and traverse the pathways and roads cut into the side of the mountains and stuff.
Yeah. Soon enough, Moses goes to the Red Sea, and as he's there, it's actually really, the water's really high. He predicted that there would be
a low tide, but it wasn't there.
It wasn't. Later that night, he throws his Egyptian sword into the water, and that night the water started receding, and they begin to go into the water, wade into the dry ocean, and try to head across, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, most of the water is still there, but it's a bit sluggish. But other than that,
there's a bit of water, but it gets a bit drier as you go through. Yeah, so it's still got like tides going out, sort of thing.
Yeah, very cool. Eventually, the chariots arrive, and they see Moses and his people walking across. And Moses sees them, and he arranges his Joshua and his brother Aaron and all the other ones who have been training this hard to arrange a bit of start planning on making their attack on the Red Sea. And the enemy soldiers, they approach them, and realizing they're in they're going to be in for a very big tidal wave. If not,
Well,
if they
like a
stay.
tsunami is a block of water, not a wave. So
Yeah, well, whatever.
A tsunami, there's a big difference.
Yeah, so they don't exactly have time to engage a skirmish. So they
A skirmish.
a skirmish. So Moses tells his men to go back to all the other inhabitants.
They go to the shore, get to the high ground, and Ramesses' charioteers decided
That's
be done with you. They turned around, they left.
Yeah.
They tried to go back to the other shore,
Yeah.
which they left a bit late.
yeah, unlike in the other movies where they just waded across thinking that they'll be safely free.
Hey, Cecil B. DeMille did a good one. Thank you very much. I like Cecil.
Yeah, eventually Moses tells him Ramesses to head back, or you're in for a wet season.
Yeah. Now, anyway, the water comes back in, and a lot of the troops get destroyed or drowned,
Yeah.
and Ramesses and Moses are caught in it. Moses gets the service somehow or other, and so does Ramesses. Ramesses would have had a long swim back to the other shore, though. I don't know how he did that, considering Egyptians aren't big swimmers.
And not to mention that armour you mentioned.
He would have been wearing some heavy armour, or even a little bits of leggings and leather and stuff. He would have been hard to swim in it.
Yeah, and Moses, now that he can sing, he's only got, he's just wearing rags, or not rags, just or his ordinary
well, he
dress.
had no horse anymore.
Yeah,
because he got drowned.
So he was able to get on to the other side, and and they're all safe and sound.
And
all
anyway,
that
Ramesses on the other side, and eventually looking around all his dead soldiers and centurions and whatever, and he's realising...
Centurions are Greek too, or Roman anyway.
Okay, whatever you're going to call them.
Call them soldiers. That's what I call them.
But they would have had leaders. I mean, like a centurion, they would have been in charge of a whatever they were. I'm using the word centurion because it would have a group leader, leading hand, if you like. I really don't care. Head guy with a sword.
General, captain.
Yeah, but they would have had a role.
That's what they called them back then.
Yeah, but they would have.
Maybe.
They would have been called something like a centurion. I don't know what the Egyptians would have called them.
Anyway, moving on. So they're back.
Captains,
so they're on the other side, and Moses tells Joshua that he plans on going to visit his wife and his son
At Jethro's camp,
and possibly persuade them to come with them on this little this going to the Canaan.
The land of Cana. Yes, exactly right.
So he does eventually go back to his old home in Jethro's house.
Meets his kitty.
Yeah, and
his wife.
Yeah, and then we flash forward to the future where he's going up to the mountain, and we see the golden calf below. Hint, hint.
Yep.
And God is shaking his head and so we watch in this scene, unlike the other versions, we see Moses carving the hieroglyphs in this scene.
Well, not
hieroglyphics. They're the Hebrew dialect.
God was dictating the laws to Moses, and he was actually doing it himself. Yeah.
And God
Is this possible?
and God and Moses were discussing it formally, saying, Moses says, "I wouldn't do this," but God says, "That's true. We used to not agree with me on certain things, but here we are again, still talking." And
Interesting.
And while Moses will die and pass away, but those laws will continue living on and guiding
and they guide
his
them
people.
and everything. Yeah.
And Moses has finally accepted that these people are now his people. So he's finally accepted that now.
Yeah.
And then we flash forward again to the future.
Moses is an old man.
Moses is an old man, practically holding a stick to make sure he continues
And he's sitting
walking.
back of a wagon or something or other.
Yeah,
And
the Ten Commandments are in the back of the cart with him.
Yeah.
And God is just slowly walking in the crowds, and he's like watches his people, head off to gosh knows where.
Gosh knows where.
As I said,
hopefully a land of milk and honey.
Hopefully, by the end of this walk, eventually they'll arrive in the promised land. Hopefully,
we won't go through the biblical side of the story. It'll take another half an hour or an hour to get through that part.
Yeah,
anyway.
it's a 2 hours movie.
It was a long movie, 2.5 hours. Actually, I read somewhere that the original cut would have been about 4 hours long.
Ooh.
But they had to cut a bit out of it. So, yeah. Now, there's a lot of bits and pieces I want to talk about here. And there's a lot of controversy about the biblical accuracy of the script and whatever. Crikey. Jesus Christ Superstar wasn't biblically accurate. The original Ten Commandments wasn't biblically accurate. Ben-Hur wasn't biblically accurate. Why is this one under fire, guys?
I don't know.
So, get a life. Ridley Scott's publicly stated that he wanted to make the plagues look like natural causes. He didn't say he wanted to take away from the God bit of it. He wanted to make it look like God could have made the natural causes. You see?
I mean...
If the river got polluted by blood or whatever, it turned to red, okay? And it was something like, let's say it was full of red clay. The fish couldn't breathe because the water would be too heavy, wouldn't be oxygenated, which means the fish would die. Those frogs wouldn't like it. They'll jump out and they'll infest the land, etc., etc. The fish dying would bring the flies and stuff, and then the cattle would be attacked by the flies, and they won't go on real good, and then the maggots would come in there and start eating everything. So he tried to make it more of a natural phenomenon, but didn't say how it actually started.
Yeah, I mean, there's no exact order to what the plagues were.
There was a bit of an order. But then you got things like people say, even Ridley Scott said, oh, back in those days there was supposed to be a big earthquake and blah, blah, and this, that, and the other, and such and other. But how it happened just when they want it to happen.
Yeah, I mean...
You see, that's where there's always a grey area.
Yeah, like the final plague I mentioned, the death of the firstborns.
Yeah, that couldn't have been an accident.
That was no accident.
Yeah, that couldn't have been
just
a flow on.
It wasn't a disease. There was no viruses.
Yeah, and the tsunami, if it was a tsunami at the parting of the Red Sea, that's fine. But how did the tsunami happen just when they needed it? You see? This one's saying, so you want to make it look natural instead of, I'll hold my stick up in the parting of the Red Sea, you want to make it look natural. There's a big difference. So God can be the controlling force which made the natural thing happen.
It's still a miracle that all this happened.
People grumble about it.
It's still a miracle.
But nobody
all the same.
was there apart from the old people 3,000 years ago. No one was actually there with their handy cams or their Canon cameras or Nikon cameras taking photographs. There wasn't anybody there with a digital recorder saying, and this is happening here, folks, right now as I'm speaking. So how the hell do we know what actually happened back then? So get over it, people. Get a life. It's a retelling of a story that no one was actually 100% sure on actually how it happened.
Yeah.
It's a retelling for a film.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
If it's any consolation, guys, it may get people to read the Bible.
Yeah. It's people might pick up the Bible and have a read. Say, oh, yes, that was wrong in the movie. Good. Pick up your Bible, have a read. I'm not going to say this is not a religious forum here, but I saw religious movies over years, and I thought, these are good, but I never picked up a Bible to check their accuracy. I just accepted the movie as it was. And this is a movie. A Ridley Scott movie.
And who knows what Moses was like as a prince. Whether he was a scholar or a general in the army, we don't know.
No, by all accounts, living in the Pharaoh's household, he would have had access to education.
Yeah, he did.
Now, I don't know how much by our standards, but he would have known how to read and write and everything else. He might have had several languages. He knew how to speak Egyptian, maybe Hebrew, other languages. Who knows? Don't know. But he wouldn't have been a stupid man.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that it's annoying that some of these people don't even think that they just they keep overthinking this sort of thing.
I mean, crikey. I mean, I'm just off on a different tangent. Okay. I know I don't want to get on the biblical side of things, but I read somewhere on the internet years ago that someone was challenging the fact that it was Good Friday and Easter Monday, the right days to be celebrated, etc., etc., etc. Was Easter Monday really 3 days later? Was it actually Sunday or the Tuesday? Yeah, and does it really matter? I mean, he's supposed to be dead for 3 days. He woke up. He went to heaven. Leave it alone. What happened with Jonah and the whale? Now, we know whales cannot swallow a human being.
And not live to tell the tale?
A whale would choke on a human being. It would choke on a tennis ball. Okay? Now, the point is that all we know is that Jonah fell off the boat and he appeared on the shores near Nineveh. We don't know how he got there. They just threw a whale in there to say that's how he got there. You see what I mean? So you can't go totally, dot the I's and cross the T's, because they had to write these stories down in a way that the people back in those days could actually understand them. So don't get too picky on the finer details, guys.
Yeah, guys.
Because the finer details, no one knows.
Yeah, because the only people who will give you a better understanding of this sort of thing, or give you a description of everything and everything about the Bible, about a certain event in Bible history, are long passed away. And
about 3,000 years ago.
And they can't really, and they can't be here to give us all the gory details.
So it's only contemporary man's interpretation of the stories.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to say.
I mean, this one was just a natural interpretation, while Cecil B. DeMille was more of a romantic,
a romanticised spiritual side of it.
Yeah.
And this one's more about the man and a dramatised biblical epic.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, Moses was, we always consider him as a religious leader. We just never think about him as anything else.
But he was actually a material, earthly leader who had the role of a spiritual leader, or at least a tribal leader with good moral teachings to teach the people, to keep them under control.
Yeah, unlike certain accuracies, I do believe in my mind that it was God that created the Ten Commandments.
Can we move on? This is not a spiritual debate, otherwise you might drive our people away.
Okay,
We're talking about the movie.
Sorry.
Okay.
It's just like, a lot of people keep saying that Moses written them, but I think it was God that written them.
Okay, fine. Okay, we're talking about the movie.
I know.
Okay, I mean, I'm not against religion, but some of you guys out there might not want to hear about the religion side of it. But it's a religious movie, obviously, and I believe it and she believes it, but I'm not going to force my opinion on you, okay? Now, getting back to production stuff, it was done in Spain and Morocco and the Canary Islands, all the filming. It took about, 74 days? There were a few problems with some people not accepting the fact that they didn't use locals. Some Christian magazine or somewhere, or some group, said, they should have had Egyptians playing leading roles and different things. Well, I thought, and Ridley Scott came up and said, if I got a proposal to have Muhammad such and such, so-and-so or rather playing the lead role, he wouldn't have got funding, and considering this movie costed $200 million to make, you would have had Buckley to get the money to make a movie with a bunch of unknowns.
Yeah.
So the movie wouldn't have been made in the first place. And I said to Sarah earlier before, if the Chinese made the movie, you would think they would have Chinese actors. If you had, Russians doing the movie, you'd probably have a lot of Russian actors. If you had Americans doing the movie, gee, we had some Americans doing this movie, they're going to put Americans in it, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, sorry, there wasn't they didn't have too many blacks in there. I'm sorry, Afro-Americans. Well, just deal with it. They were just trying to get the movie put together.
Yeah,
and they may not have come for the casting call either.
And bear in mind, folks, who's to say that what Moses may look like? We just see in romantic versions of him in Michelangelo's work and Da Vinci's work, but we don't realize that maybe these guys won't look like that.
They wouldn't, because of the Italian version of what they look like. Ta-da! So I don't want to be revving anybody up here, but people need to settle down and say, okay, these guys made a movie. We must get the ethnic groups balanced properly. Yeah, well, I'm sorry, you get a casting call, people come there, try out for the movie.
Yeah.
That's it. We need 1,000 extras. We get 1,000 extras.
Yeah.
Who cares what colour they are or what ethnic background they are? You need people,
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move right along. Here now, blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Without a big name supporting actors, the movie wouldn't have got off the ground. We've got that part already. Some of the guys there have just got... Christian Bale said something along the lines that at the moment he wouldn't have got the funding for a big production like this through the normal sources. But this integration of ethnic groups, different countries, will change with independent filmmakers as they start doing it, and the independent filmmakers get more recognition. Then the major studios will come on board later and say, well, they're doing it, it's acceptable, they're making money, so we'll have a go. And at the end of the day, the studios have to make money or they close the doors. So yeah, so here Christian Bale actually said that. Yeah, interesting. So I think honestly, yeah, I would like to see an Italian movie made in Italy with Italians in it, or an Egyptian movie with Egyptians in it. But bear in mind here, you're going to have, well, how many actors are there in Egypt that are well known around the world in the mainstream film industry? I can only think of one, Omar Sharif. And he's dead now, I think. So who's going to be coming out of Egypt to do a major role? There might be one or two I've overlooked. I don't know, don't know their ethnic background.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot coming out of there.
Yeah.
So how do you do it?
There isn't much I don't think there's too many places to study acting in.
Yeah, but the point is you can leave Egypt and go to another country and learn your acting skills, but they don't have a big film industry, or not an international film industry. They might have a local one doing local programs.
I'm only guessing, guys, I don't know if they're... I never studied.
If they don't have a lot of actors there on the world stage, I'm not talking about the Egyptian stage, but the world stage, they're not going to make an Egyptian movie that's going to be, accepted worldwide, or you can't go in there and make a movie from America or English or wherever, go in there and using locals if the locals aren't known. So, yeah. It's just little things. They got to, if they come in the 21st century and start their own movies...
Yeah, I bet if they
and training people up.
Moses was done by an Indian guy, they'll probably still pick.
Oh my goodness gracious me!
Don't say that.
No, the point is that would be over the top because he wasn't Indian.
No, I know that, but he's I just put that thought in because all that stuff.
I know that's the whole point. But it's like Tales of Arabian Nights. They said, "Oh, it was on Arabia." It wasn't even done in Arabia. The original stories, weren't they in China or somewhere? Yes, so it's technically speaking, the Arabian Nights were actually China Nights. Ah.
Yeah. Anyway, what do reviewers say about this movie? I would like to find out myself.
Now, this is where Ridley Scott comes into his own. Okay, right.
This will be interesting.
More than 1,500 visual effect shots were created to digitally bolster the ranks of the Hebrews and to help authentically render plagues of hail, locusts, and frogs, although 400 live frogs were actually brought onto set. But they made it look like more. There were 400,000 humans depicted in total. No, depicted. That's what they do. They get a group, and then they make it digitally enhanced to make other ones depicted with 30 to 40 people accompanying Bale crossing the Red Sea. So the close-up shots had 30 or 40 people, but the rest of it was computer-generated. CGI produced the 180-foot wave, the horses and the chariots. That was all computer-generated.
I see.
A lot of work. That's why it cost so much money. In the close-up shots of the people fleeing across the seabed, the filmmakers used the beach's real waters. But they did it obviously along the beachfront.
So there was really the tide going out, and so they walked across it.
They did it across the beachfront there, and they did that area
on a good day.
Well, at the right time of the day, yeah. The Hailstorm, this is interesting. The special effects team built 30 special cannons that would fire polymer balls to bounce and shatter with the same characteristics as an ice ball.
Wow, cool.
The distant hail is obviously a computer-generated thing.
Thank you.
Now and in an interview, Ridley said the final version of the film was 4 hours long. So they've actually had to take an hour and a half out of this to make it an acceptable level. So I'd like to see what was taken out.
I would love to see it myself.
But getting back to the thing, Ridley Scott is a director. He's a producer. He makes movies. Now, someone said, they didn't like the fact that he's a declared atheist. Who cares? He's telling a story. Here is the script. He put it together. he doesn't have to be a Christian to make the movie.
Yeah.
Here is the story.
Look at Mel Brooks, for instance.
Mel
Brooks, not Mel Brooks. I mean Mel Gibson. When he did his own version of the Jesus story,
The Passion of the Christ.
he was, I think,
he is a Catholic.
Yeah, he's a Catholic, and he decided to do his version a little differently from other versions.
He wanted to make it as historically accurate as possible, and he even got the people talking Aramaic or something rather.
Yeah.
And I thought, whoa, that's different, and it worked because you got a sense of reality.
Yeah, in this
and
one,
the brutality
and in
everything
that one,
else.
it showed the brutality of the crucifixion.
Yeah, and it wasn't like a big slap on the wrist and a couple of pretend little welts
and a broken
on the back.
nose.
And that's what he really made it look gory and horrible. And you go,
unlike the other versions where they just make him look like he's bleeding at the head because he's wearing the crown of thorns, while the rest of him is badly scarred from the whips.
But if anyone wants to look at the Passion of the Christ movie, the whipping scene, that was really vicious, and that's how the Romans would have whipped somebody. They had these little shards of bone and other things and little hooks on the end of these cat o' nine tails things, and they would actually get into your skin and actually tear the skin.
Yeah.
It wasn't just hitting you with a piece of string or rope or something rather.
Yeah.
He was actually pulling the skin away from the bone. So he would have had bones exposed after the lashing.
Yeah.
So, and this one's he went for realism. And Ridley Scott goes for
a little bit of realism.
His type of realism, but using CGI and stuff, And Ridley Scott makes a good movie. Like he did what Alien just said.
Yeah.
At least, what was it, 2 movies? He did the first one, he did another one. He didn't do the second one, he came back for the third or fourth or something, or I think, whatever. But he's a good director.
I do feel sorry that... I think that it's kind of sad that his brother died and he did this.
Forget that.
But I think that maybe he was thinking... He was probably one of the reasons why he probably did this was because
I don't know if he's a declared atheist, but a lot of people I'm an atheist, but that's a throwaway line. People say, I'm an atheist.
Yeah.
Or I'm an agnostic. They say, what they mean is they don't really care. Yeah. But maybe really underneath he did care. Something inside him, he might have a spark inside. Yeah. He thought, maybe the story needs to be told. Yeah, and I can do a good job at it. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not going to judge the man.
I like the fact that he dedicated to his brother because it's a sign that he does. He
might have actually believed in something.
He might believe that, and showed his belief by dedicating it to his own brother, and that showed he cares. He's a good He's a director who probably misses his brother, and he cares about what he's doing.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't get too much on that.
So, can we look at the reviews?
Well, I'm going to now. I'm just going to go. This is the hard part.
Yeah. Emphasis on hard.
I'll see a lot of reviewers were looking at things which they shouldn't have been looking at.
Oh, goody.
No, I'm sorry, but they got mainly negative reviews.
No, duh.
Oh, no. They praise the acting performances and technical achievements, but criticise its pacing, thin screenwriting, and a lack of character development.
Oh, please.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, guys, but you got it wrong there because Moses, he started off as a person who didn't believe anything, but then he started believing.
Yeah, it was in there. But if it wasn't rammed in your face, say, look, here it is. It was subtle. It is a biblical epic. It's a drama. It's not an action movie. It's not an adventure. So you're not going to have big action scenes in it. Something here, Rotten Tomatoes gave it 30%. While sporadically stirring and suitably epic in its ambitions, Exodus of the Gods can't quite live up to its classic source material. What, the Bible? Yeah. Or the previous movie with Charlton Heston. I don't know. Next, Metacritic, a film 52 out of 100. Mixed average reviews, doesn't say anything about it. CinemaScope gave the grading of B- on an A to F, so that's sort of positive-ish. Now, the Hollywood Reporter gave a positive review and said Scott did a great job reviving the Roman sand and sandals epic when he made the Oscar-winning Gladiator. This Egyptian saga is not
he
quite...
did the... I forgot about that.
Not in the same league, but it confirms the director's flair for widescreen imagery. And that's what I keep saying. He's doing a movie and telling a story on film. And that's what he's paid to do. Okay. Now, Peter, the Rolling Stones was positive. Exodus is a biblical epic that comes to you at maximum velocity, but stays stirringly, inspiringly human.
Yeah, interesting thing,
I kept
guys.
the God part out of it and the spirit side of it, and focused more on the human side of it.
Exactly. That's good. That's a good review.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
another thing, guys.
yeah.
When they were doing the title for this movie, the guys at the 21st Century guys tried to buy the rights to the
Exodus,
but
but
from
there
MGM, but
there was an
they
earlier movie
refused.
called Exodus. Yeah.
Yeah,
The war movie
Yeah, a movie that
with Steve McQueen in it.
that
No, Paul Newman.
that
yeah.
no one has even heard of until now.
Well, I've heard of it. Exodus is a war movie there about the Hebrew people being shipped around on a bloody boat and they're imprisoned on a boat. I know the movie. I've got it in my collection. Thank you very much.
Oh, you do anyway. So I just mean that in this case, he then decided to take Gods and Kings as a bit of a add-on to it.
Yeah. Now,
According to, I also
it.
found out that there was another movie that made by Steven Spielberg called Gods and Kings. There was another Moses-related one that Steven Spielberg made.
Stephen King?
Sorry, guys. I don't know why I said. It was Steven Spielberg. Sorry,
now,
guys. I'm just saying that.
There's quite a few reviews.
I'm just saying that while they were. Ridley was working on this film.
Yep.
He was taking two different titles to make it one good movie.
Okay, The Black Cat and whatever. Yeah. Now, interesting. We talked about Indian before. You mentioned India. The Times of India gave the film 4 out of 5 stars and said Exodus, Gods and Kings is a spectacle with a capital S and in more ways than one. Definitely epic.
Yeah.
So interesting, hey.
Yeah.
The Guardian gave 3 out of 5 stars. It's impossible not to feel some awe at the spectacle, but more shocks would have helped you see through the 2.5-hour runtime. Shocks. I'm sorry, it wasn't an action movie. It wasn't supernatural. It wasn't a horror. It was a drama.
What do they mean by shocks?
I got no freaking idea.
Don't they even know what the
it's a drama.
story is
It's
about?
a drama. It's a biblical epic. It's a drama.
Oh. It's not supposed to be
It's like watching paint dry sometimes, but it's a drama. Okay.
I don't know what they mean by shocks because that seems more appropriate term for horror.
I know. I think what it means that there could have been a little more action in it. Maybe I don't know what she's talking about. Now, over here, a local one for us, the Sydney Morning Herald, Australia, gave mixed review and awarded the film 3 out of 5 stars, saying blah 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 blah. Lacks Gladiator's full-on intensity and committed central performances. However, it's a mixture of the grand and the bland, and when it's not spectacular, it's a little bit plodding. And now, honestly, Gladiator was an action movie. This is not an action movie. It's like comparing apples and oranges, guys.
While there was a bit of action here and there, there is also bits where God comes into it.
It's a drama. It's not an action film. Gladiator was an action film.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Variety. Some may well desire a purer, fuller version of the story, one more faithful to the text and less clearly shaded by the demands of Hollywood blockbuster. But on its own grand, imperfect terms, Exodus, Gods and Kings is undeniably transporting, marked by a free-flowing visual splendour that plays to its creator's unique strength. Given how many faith-based movies are content to tell the audience what to think or feel, it's satisfying to see one whose images alone are enough to compel awe-struck belief. That's a nice positive review, hey guys. Some of these guys are into it and some aren't into it, and I think
but at least some of them put the effort into writing their review and saying that it's really good that it has a bit of a natural look when you think about it. I mean, kind of see through Ridley Scott's directing ship of how he decided to make this movie look more realistic.
Ridley Scott is a creative man who knows how to deliver the goods. Mm-hmm. Now, you do an alien movie, he doesn't have to believe in aliens to make an alien movie, does he?
True. But at least it did
No,
work.
you're missing your point. He doesn't have to believe in aliens and monsters to actually make the movie work. Because he might be an atheist or an agnostic or something rather here, might not be dyed-in-the-wool Christian, he still made a good movie, okay? So, and he might have focused more on the man than the spiritual side, but he didn't write it, okay? He did what he did with the text, the written word given to him by the writers. Yeah. Even though he's a producer, the writers and director, producer and director, but he's a producer, the writers would have done the script, and he wasn't the only producer. So there would have been, I think there's 4 producers, and he had to, it wasn't all Ridley Scott say, it was 4 people agreeing on the storyline. So so don't knock poor old Ridley.
Yeah.
He's good. He's good value. I won't talk about any other stuff here. I can't think of anything else to say.
Yeah.
There's nothing else in the reviews. You got the general idea, folks.
I generally... should we rate it now, do you think?
Well, I'm going to, because it's getting a bit long now. Look. Okay. I'm just trying to think. I'm comparing it to other religious movies. I've seen some really pathetic religious movies.
I've seen a few myself. Even TV show ones, too. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my thoughts together here. They plod along. They tell a nice story, but there's nothing in it. Yes, we've read the stories out of the Gospels. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Here it is. Yeah, it's been done before. And they just turn out the same crap all the time. I'm sorry, but that's what it is. Let's do it again. Oh, let's do it again. Let's do it again. Yeah. And there's nothing new. Ridley's come along here for new script, and the script has taken a different turn. It's based more on Moses the man instead of Moses the spiritual leader of his people.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, having said that, I think he has delivered the goods in this movie. He's got a very good product happening here. The CGI is unbelievable. It really brings it to life. And now I've been to the Middle East, Egypt, Jordan, and Israel, and even though this movie was not filmed in those countries, I've done it in Spain, Morocco, and Canary Islands, it had the right feel.
Yeah, not to mention they really did film it in the Middle East.
It'd have high-rise buildings and stuff all over the place.
And
satellite dishes on the.
They would have to probably film it if they could in Tunisia, and that's
Tunisia. Well, that's what they did. Tunisia, I think they did Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah,
and that sort of place. Now, the point is, so. Yeah.
Although I don't know what Tunisia looks like now, obviously.
It doesn't matter. So the point is, he's captured the feel of the period. He's captured the feel of the locations. He's captured the feel of the people of that time. He's told the story as one would expect that story to be told. You can't change the Bible story, but you can reinterpret it. And that's an interpretation that we're looking at here. Yeah. And I think it's a good interpretation. It's a good movie. Ridley Scott has done a great job. I can't fault it. I'm going to give it 9.5.
Yeah, I do question whether sometimes in the Bible whether or not that Moses really, did still believe in the Egyptian gods when he was exiled, or whether or not he believed in the Hebrew God.
Well, we don't know. The point is, he grew up in an Egyptian household. He would have been brought up believing that these gods were the real gods, but maybe he was a clear-thinking guy who thought this load of bullshit. Pardon the language, because if they didn't have a god for something, they'd just make one. And that's what they did.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Yeah. I mean, if these 10 Commandments were written, that some people think it's written by him, but if he did write them, he would have not have written, "Thou shalt not worship false images."
Yeah,
he could have said, "Sod that, I'm not going to put that rule in," but God definitely pushed that rule forward.
Point. I don't care if God got down there for hammer and chisel and nutted them out onto a piece of rock, or he dictated it to Moses, or somebody else came out there for jackhammer and actually cut him into the rock. Really don't care. But for the Christians out there who believed it, the Ten Commandments are handed down from God. Okay,
Yeah.
Moses was the man in the middle. Whether he actually wrote them as instructed, or they were given to him, or whatever, I don't care.
Yeah. I always think that it was God who did all those miracles and plagues, and I also believe that He wrote on the Ten Commandments on the
point,
stone.
whether God actually wrote them, created them with lightning or whatever, like in Cecil B. DeMille's one, or Moses cut them into rock himself as dictated, or he was inspired by God.
Yeah.
The Bible is supposed to be the inspired word of God, not the word of God.
Yeah, I did read somewhere that
same thing.
That after the first 10 Commandments got smashed, he and his followers, they made 2 new tablets, blank ones, and then he heads up the cliff up the mountain to get them rewritten them.
Anyway, it doesn't really matter. I don't want this to be a biblical thing, but we are touching on that area, and it might be annoying some people.
Yeah, sorry guys.
I'm sorry, but it's. Christianity is a world religion, the same as
Jews and
Islamic and Hebrew religion and whatever.
Yeah, I often think that I just wish some people weren't so sensitive about it.
They just get so picky on things. I mean, crikey,
it's not historic.
It's not a historical drama.
Yeah.
It's a biblical epic conveying a message. Mm-hmm. That's it. Yeah, really. Mm. So get off your high horse, people out there. Some of you guys there, Christian lobbyists and whatever, get a life. Do something real with your life instead of complaining about something like this.
Yeah, read the Bible and just.
Well, they do that, but they don't understand it like they should.
And not to mention, there's probably several different interpretations of it.
Well, I'm glad you said that. Do you know how many versions of the Bible there are there?
How many?
I haven't counted so many of them. There's at least, I can think of at least a dozen versions of the Bible. They've been rewritten by different people. There's still the same general theme, but some of the words there are changed so much, saying, who wrote this rubbish? Because it doesn't make sense. They've changed some of the words too much, and again, idiots. Now leave if those who really believe in it, want to believe in it, let them believe in it, and don't pick on filmmakers who are trying to tell a story. It's
just like when they
unless it's really bad.
They pick on the painters in Italy who were trying to to recreate the religious stories in the Bible.
Yeah. Like Michelangelo did the roof of the Sistine Chapel. The ceiling.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
And Leonardo da Vinci and his Last Supper and all
they
that
did some beautiful things, but none of them are actually true.
Yeah, the buildings, no doubt, may not even be.
Well, they were Italian Renaissance buildings. If you want to be accurate, you got Jesus and the guys at the Last Supper. The window behind them, and it's daytime. They would have been having Last Supper at night time. It's after sundown.
Yes.
Aha.
Yeah.
So little things you can't go by it. But the Renaissance painters did good work, but they're not accurate.
True.
So anyway, it's full of Italians.
Yeah. So you can't always believe.
Have you graded it?
What?
Have you graded it?
Oh yeah, I haven't graded it yet.
I did mine 1.5.
Okay, I'm going to give it 8.5.
Why 8.5?
Okay, maybe not 8.5, 9.5. And I give Mike 6.5 if he stops coughing.
I can't help it. I got a bug went down my throat or something. Yeah.
He keeps doing this all the time.
I do get a lot of sinus trouble,
Anyway, so I give this 9.5, guys.
And I give 10 to Ridley Scott because he's a good director. How's that? No, don't take a good director to task because you don't like a movie. Because if you don't like the theme of it or the actors or something like that. That's what he got to work with, okay?
Yeah, and he has to audition several actors for the role of Moses. He's not. Gene Bale was not probably his first
He may have
choice.
been. He may or may not have been. That's not the point. But the point is, if he had Muhammad such and such or other, or as if something or other, it ain't going to work.
Yeah, he could have asked for several people to do the role.
He needed somebody well known who would actually fit. We did. The other one was also that Moses one or whatever it was. Doug Ray Scott played Moses. Hello.
He's English.
He ain't Egyptian either. He did a good job.
He pulled it off.
He's not a hero. No, he did a good job. Yeah. So it's acting.
Yeah, and
people are playing a role.
And
people who get dressed up as aliens aren't really aliens. Oh, let's get some real aliens for the movie.
Yeah, and to quote the phrase I said before, Charlton Heston is not Jewish or Hebrew.
But Cecily DeMille thought he looked like Moses based on a statue. Is it St. Peter's Basilica in Italy? He said, Dad, look, he looks just like Charlton Heston.
By his nose.
By his nose or something or other. He looks nothing like him. I've been there.
Well, anyway.
I've been there. I've seen the statue. He looks similar-ish, same shape head and same nose. Rest of it, nah. But the point is, he got inspired by that statue, and he thought, "Oh, Charlton Heston played a good role."
Yeah. And
that's it. So,
so that's about it for us tonight. I'm not going to say more because if I keep saying more, I'll probably say the same things over and over.
Well, actually, I want to say Anthony Quinn, the fine actor. He is, I think he's Mexican or something, South American, something. I think he's Mexican. He has played Greeks, Italians. He's played lots of other different things. Any role which needed an ethnic sort of sounding voice and personality, he got the roles. Did anyone ever complain about him playing the Pope in the shoes of the fisherman?
Yeah.
Don't think so. You know.
Yeah. So
So,
anyway,
guys,
so
get over it. They're actors.
Get over it, guys. Try to visualize your own version of Moses and not have to worry about the actor who portrays him.
Yeah, exactly right. It's an image. That's all it is.
It's just creating an image for the audience to relate to.
Exactly right. And someone that can deliver the lines convincingly. Anyway, got to go.
All right, thanks for listening to this podcast, everyone. So we'll see you guys for our next one. So this is Sarah Stephenson.
And Michael.
Saying we'll see you guys for our next podcast. Bye for now.
Bye, guys.
Bye.